Yeah, because we got to get on to David Letterman. Remember what happened to Don Imus when he made those insensitive comments? He got fired. But now what about David Letterman with regard to how he's speaking about Sarah Palin and her young daughter? And then there's Jay Leno, who also apparently had this joke during the campaign. Governor Palin announced over the weekend that her 17-year-old unmarried daughter is 5 months pregnant, and you thought John Edwards was in trouble before. Now he has really done it, of course, insinuating that John Edwards might be the father.
And, of course, Jay Leno got a pass on that. Imus got fired. What's going to happen to Letterman? Senator John McCain will weigh in on this right this second. Senator, what do you make of this?
I think it's the extent that now comedians go to, I guess, help their ratings. But I think, as I've said before, I think there should be a boundary about talking about people's children, particularly 14-year-olds. I just think that's a boundary that ought to be respected. Obviously, it wasn't, and the viewers will make their judgments.
Absolutely. Although I read this morning that it sounds like Letterman may actually wind up with a ratings pop after this, extraordinarily.
All right, Senator McCain is here to talk about.
Could I just say he may, but I'm not sure that that is really successful in the long run.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Senator, on that point at least. Fair or fraud, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad declared the winner in Iran's presidential elections, but now the country's supreme leader calling for an investigation into the results. So was the election rigged? We are back with Senator John McCain, of course, Republican from Arizona and former presidential candidate. All right, Senator, are you amazed that the top of the leaders in Iran now calling for an investigation? I mean, did they make this fraud so apparent that now they have to call for an investigation?
I think they do, but I'm not sure that an investigation conducted by the people that selected the winner is going to be exactly an objective process. But the fact is that the reaction of the Iranian people shows their discontent with this regime, but to think they're going to shake loose from it anytime soon, I think would be a bit optimistic. But it's really a sham that they've pulled off, and I hope that we will act. And by the way, Senator Lieberman has a proposal that we put sanctions on countries that sell gasoline to Iran.
Oh,
maybe
interesting.
we ought to think about passing that legislation.
Senator, let me ask you this, because you said it's important how we react, and to me that's the most important part of this story today. How will the Obama administration react to this? Will they come out directly and say that this is unconscionable, that this can go on when they claim to be a democracy, or will they take an easier tact on it?
Well, initial reports by, quote, administration officials are that they say that they're not going to change their policy of dialogue, et cetera, et cetera. I think they should be condemned, and it's obvious that this was a rigged election and depriving the people of their democratic rights, if we are for human rights all over the world.
All right, Senator, let me turn your attention to Leon Panetta, the director of the CIA, because he has written there's a blistering article coming out in which he's interviewed, where he basically says that former Vice President Dick Cheney wants another terrorist attack to prove his point. Is this crossing the line in your mind?
Of course it is. And Leon Panetta knows Dick Cheney, and he knows better. I disagreed with the Cheney policy on interrogation techniques, but never did it cross my mind that Dick Cheney would ever want an attack on the United States of America, and it's unfair, and I think that Mr. Panetta should retract, and retract immediately. By the way, I hear morale is not at an all-time high over at the CIA under Mr. Panetta's leadership.
Well, yes, and of course, it's interesting to point out that Panetta and Cheney probably agreed on Nancy Pelosi calling the CIA a bunch of liars, but now the tide seems to have changed. Speaking of that, Senator McCain, is Nancy Pelosi turning her back on our soldiers? Your answer on the other side of this break.
All right, welcome back. Senator John McCain still with us from an office building in Washington, D.C. Hey, Senator, not far from where you're standing right now is Nancy Pelosi's office. Nancy Pelosi is bucking the trend within her own party. Her president does not want those CIA interrogation pictures released, but she does. That can't be good for the president.
I don't think it's good for the country. I think that when you listen to the vehemence of our military leaders, General Petraeus and General Odierno, in their not only opposition but their predictions that this could lead to additional American casualties and help stoke the fires of Islamic extremism, I mean, this is serious business. I understand the Speaker represents a very liberal district, but I would hope she would change her position on this issue when you're talking about American lives being placed at further risk.
Let's talk a little bit about the Uyghurs. We know that over the weekend they were released, 4 of them at least, to Bermuda, and they're out and about. And they're enjoying the sand and the sun, and they're doing a little fishing as well. And they might be serving you your drink your next time that you go over there, Senator. But what do you make of this? Because there are reports over the weekend that, in fact, they are alleged terrorists. Where do you fall on this?
Well, I fall that it's pretty obvious that the administration is paying a penalty for the fact they announced the closing of Guantanamo without any plan as to how to handle the detainees, how to handle those you can't bring to trial yet you want to keep, a whole range, a variety of issues, and they're still trying to sort through them. It was a terrible mistake to announce the closing without doing that. So now we see them trying to get rid of these detainees. Palau, a lot of people don't know Palau. It's a quote ally, a compact with us that they're going to try to send people to, and it's going to cost the taxpayers a couple of $1 million each, I guess. But so I think this is a result of a policy that was not well thought through, and they're paying a price for it.
3 of the 4 were found at Tora Bora, and unnamed CIA officials said they're sure they helped bin Laden escape. So they're in Bermuda. Best of luck, people. Senator McCain, I got to ask you about another San Francisco judge. This judge decided that it's okay for a detainee like Jose Padilla to sue a Justice Department official about their treatment under arrest.
I think it's an incredibly bad decision. I worry about what the Ninth Circuit will do, the most liberal court in America. This may be fought all the way up the United States Supreme Court. Lawyers should not be penalized for giving their advice, even if it's bad advice. And this could have a terrible effect on people giving their recommendations to administrations. But most of all, it makes no sense. Mr. Yu was not responsible for Mr. Padilla's treatment. Mr. Yu gave opinions, and so look, I think we need to look at it, see if there's some kind of legislative remedy to this. You can't have this continue.
Yeah, because the conventional wisdom is when you're working for the government, you've got immunity from that kind of stuff. If it applied to him, would it apply to you?
And if you give bad advice, that is not a crime. Sometimes you may wish it was, but the fact is, if you start calling it a crime, what kind of a chilling effect would that have on giving advice and counsel to the President of the United States?
Everybody clam up.
And by the way, judges matter, nominations, elections matter, and nominations matter.
All right. Well, you're going to be deciding that next thing on Capitol Hill very soon with regard to a justice. So we'll stay tuned to that. Senator, thanks so much for sharing your time with us this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on, gang.
All right.